Hey, we're back. New video. And guess what it is? Lunch Lady Land. Yes, Sloppy Joe. Sorry. I love that song and I love Sloppy Joes. And today on Kitschy Cookery, we are making an old standby famous from many lunchrooms and many single parents and married parents and anybody who wanted to make something that kids would like and maybe slip a couple vegetables in there as well. So here we go. We got our Sloppy Joe show coming up for you right now.
So we're making Sloppy Joes today.
We are Sloppy Joes, the Sloppy
You gotta
Joes.
stop singing songs in these videos.
Joes,
That's a copyright thing.
You can't copyright Sloppy Joes.
You
Come
could
on.
copyright the song.
It just came into my head. I'm sorry.
So when did you first have Sloppy Joes?
Oh,
While we wait for
God.
the pan.
I think it was probably in school. I mean, who hasn't had Sloppy Joes in school, right?
When did you start making them?
Well, you know, I used to make them sometimes with a certain unnamed can of sauce that you can buy at the store.
Called
Called something which.
Can
And you
Witch.
can also buy like dried packets of seasoning to make it. So I used to make it that way. And then, but I always hated the man-witch stuff. Sorry, the witch stuff. Because I always felt like it tasted like the can to me. It was tinny tasting. So I just started kind of playing around with it, and I saw some recipes online, and actually in the cookbook too, because I made it even before online was a thing. And I just thought, well, that's kind of the way I want to go with it. I want to make it myself. It's so simple, really. I'm going to put about a tablespoon of oil in the pan.
Yeah.
And this is just either vegetable oil. I tend to use peanut oil, but you can use whatever you want. And then we're going to put in our onions, carrots, and celery. And carrots are a non-traditional item that I just added into it because I happen to like vegetables. And if you have kids who like Sloppy Joes but don't like vegetables, I don't know how you could. All my kids loved vegetables. But you can add like some shredded carrot into it, and it just kind of helps bulk out the meat and also adds a little bit.
Makes your kids eat their vegetables if they don't like it.
It adds another element of vegetable. So I'm going to go ahead and add those in. And go ahead and get those started. And I'm also going to add in my peppers. Now, I'm mainly using green pepper in this one, or bell pepper. But I also like to use either, I like to add a little bit of red pepper. This happens to be like an orangey pepper that I grew last year. And so I'm trying to use them up, and I'm going to go ahead and put that in as well. I just like the bits of color in it, I guess. I'm a big fan of colorful food.
If you're not, I don't know who you are.
Right. And then I've got some salt. I'm going to go ahead and add the salt in with the vegetables, but leave the pepper for a little bit later. So I don't want it to get too, I don't want it to burn. And then I'm going to get
So did your mom make Sloppy Joes, or?
If she did, I can tell you that as a working parent working single parent in the 60s, she probably bought the canned stuff and just mixed it with the meat.
Yeah.
She didn't have a lot of time to, cook full-on meals and things like that. But I'm sure that I had it numerous times, especially as a child born in the 60s, really growing up in the 70s. It was ubiquitous at school lunches for sure.
Do you think that Sloppy Joes are based off loose meat sandwiches?
It could be.
Midwest.
Loose meat sandwiches, though, don't have the tomato in them. So, I haven't really researched where they came from. I just always liked eating them, so.
They're definitely American.
I would say so,
Because
yes.
I've never seen them anywhere else.
No. And then, so it may have been, maybe it was a lunch lady in the Midwest who just said, hey, we've got a bunch of extra tomato sauce.
We've got ketchup.
Let's throw it in with these loose meat sandwiches.
It might have just been ketchup.
It might have been. It probably was. So we're just going to saute these until they get a little translucent. And then I'm going to go ahead and add the garlic and the pepper. And then we will be adding our meat to it and browning that up with
I'm just glad you're not deep frying anything. Everything's been deep fried.
Well, There's still time.
We're gonna pull out the deep fryer and deep fry this manwich.
Oh God.
Better mix.
You know, the funny thing is this is so easy to make with ingredients that most people have. And I mean, you can leave some of these out as long as you have like maybe onion and tomato sauce, ketchup, and the Worcestershire sauce. You could probably make a pretty reasonable sloppy joe with just some ground beef, you know. This is just the recipe that I've developed over time, and let's be honest, most kids love sloppy joes. So I feel like it's a good meal for little kids. What I would do is probably I go really old school and make some like mac and cheese to go with it. Wouldn't that be fun?
I bet.
So we're going to go ahead and just cook that for a little bit. Temperature looks pretty good.
What do you have it on?
Well, for our stove, it's on an 8 on an electric stove top. So,
here's the question that everyone's dying to know: gas or electric?
it's hard. You know, I really would love to have a gas stove, but then lately you hear all these bad things about gas stoves. So.
Stove drama.
Yeah, stove drama. So a lot of people go to induction, or have gone to induction now. I guess I've been cooking on an electric stove for so long that I've kind of learned its foibles. And so I feel like I can do pretty well on it.
I'm not a huge fan of induction. I feel like they always look dirty.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put our garlic in. And then I'm also going to get our pepper and the last little bit of salt that's in here too. Toss that in.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah, that looks really good.
Yeah, it smells really good too. I mean, you can't go wrong with, you know, onion, celery, peppers, and carrot, right?
This is just so tame.
Yep.
Nice.
And we're almost to the point where I'm going to add the meat. And probably what I'm going to do, I'm just trying to let that garlic cook up a little bit. You can start smelling it now. It's getting aromatic.
Now you see all the steam coming off of the video right now. Like, what inspired you to want to do this for the videos?
Well, I was just trying to think about something fun to make that didn't require a lot of ingredients. And I thought, you know, it's been a while since I made sloppy joes. And we always love them here, so why not go ahead and do that? So
I can't believe how many vegetables you put in, because I think a lot of people make
think
theirs
it's just meat.
They make theirs very meat focused.
Well, here's the thing: if you are using the packet or the canned stuff, I haven't used manwich in years, so I can't really speak to how it looks now. But when I used to use it, it looked just like barbecue sauce.
And it did, like with saucy meat barbecue sauce.
Right, so you were just basically pouring a can of barbecue sauce in some ground beef, and that was it, right?
That's kind of why I think a lot of people thought maybe it was like a loose meat sandwich, but with sauce on it. You know, it kind of makes sense with the South, right? Like, they probably have loose meat barbecue sauce.
Maybe. Okay, so see how I push those off to the corner or around the edges? I'm going to go ahead and put my ground beef right in the middle here.
Yeah, to make a little space for it.
Yeah, I'll start breaking it up. Kind of breaking it up there.
What kind of beef do you use?
I prefer to use 80-20.
Yeah,
That's the fat ratio.
What does that mean?
That means that it's 80% lean and 20% fat. You can go up, I think you can even buy, 93% lean and 17% fat. You can go lower than that. But, for a good all-purpose hamburger meat, I would say I like 80-20. I like to have a little bit of juiciness to it. I like it for burgers.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like all-purpose flour. It's good for everything, in my opinion. If you don't want that much fat in, once you've finished browning the meat, you can drain it. You don't have to keep it in there.
Yeah. Well, that's a lot of misconceptions. People have fat isn't good. Fat's yummy.
Yeah.
Fat makes food taste good.
I lost a piece.
Okay, well, salmonella.
And so what I'm doing here is I'm just breaking it up. And as I break it up, I'm kind of pulling in the vegetables as well, because they're going to help season the meat as they cook. So that makes it very, very tasty.
It's like white people tacos at this point. Right?
Oh, God.
It was like vegetables and ground beef. And then do you use the same mixture of beef for your meatloaf?
I do. I use the 80-20, but what I do with meatloaf is I mix it. I'll go one of two ways. Personally, I like ground pork. So I'll mix ground beef with ground pork to make my meatloaf and my meatballs, for that matter.
You probably wouldn't do it for this because you don't need that kind of flavor.
You don't, well, no, and you don't, I mean, yeah, you don't need that much. Sometimes if I'm making it for people who don't eat pork, what I'll do is do a ground turkey instead of the ground pork. The main thing that...
People who don't eat pork.
For me, the thing that people make the mistake about, to segue into meatloaf for a minute, and meatballs, is...
And even this.
Yeah, they only use... Well, this has vegetables to take up that slot where the pork would go.
Yeah.
They only want to use beef. And the thing is if you've ever tried to purchase a meatloaf, say from a grocery store that they've made, more often than not, it's made out of just beef.
It's
and can
dense.
I tell you, it's so dense.
Yeah, it's like
a brick. Let's be
it's
honest.
It's like eating the innards of an animal that's been overcooked.
It's not good. It's not good. So, lighten it up a little bit. I used to love it back in the day in the 80s. When I used to go to the store, and the store that we went to in Las Vegas would have a meatloaf mix, and what it would be pork, beef, and I can't remember if it was veal or lamb at the time, but it was one of those different.
Because they always had weird meats in Vegas because of all the people that live there.
Right, exactly.
They used to have like prime cuts too.
But that made the best meatloaf, I feel like.
Nice.
But I very rarely see that now. I did see the other day, I saw a packet of ground beef and pork ground together. So that was kind of interesting.
So people are catching on.
Maybe, yeah.
You're like, great.
Maybe
stealing on my secrets.
So I tend to like mine, some people might leave their meat a little more chunky than this. I personally like it kind of fine. I feel like it fits on the sandwich a little more. So you see me going through here and just kind of like chopping it with my little spatula here. And once this gets nice and brown, and I'm actually going to turn it up a little bit because I like mine to get a little crispy. And I'm just making a big mess on my stove. But, that's what happens when you cook, right?
Yeah. Smells really good.
It does. It does, doesn't it? And I'm actually not going to drain this.
It doesn't look that greasy.
It's not. It doesn't have a super amount of fat in it.
No,
so.
it's like it looks really good actually.
Yeah.
I think the veggies probably pull.
They help absorb it. Yeah. I would even add. I didn't do it this time, but something I do with meatloaf and this sometimes, if I have a lot of mushrooms on hand, is I'll grind the mushrooms up pretty fine and brown them ahead of time. And again, that's just another way of padding out the meat or adding a little bit more flavor to the meat.
Getting more filler in.
Well, yeah, exactly. Because, when you're a single parent, as I was, a lot of times it can be very expensive to buy meat.
But also you want to try to get nutrients in as well. Because when you're poor, you tend to eat more carbs.
Well, not only that, but also, anyone who has been on public assistance will know that most of the time when you shop, you go like at the beginning of the month and you buy all your stuff. So your window for having fresh vegetables, if you're poor, is usually pretty small. You have it for like the first week. And then after that, you rely on canned goods and things like that to make up the difference.
Well, that's why it's nice that they have those cards now.
Yeah.
For people who need assistance, because you can get groceries throughout the whole month.
Right.
Because back when you would get assistance, they would put dates on it. So you had to go during a certain time. And also, you could only go once a month, if you were poor.
Can I be honest with you, Laura? It wasn't even that they had dates on it.
I know some states do that.
Yeah, in this state, the state we're talking about in particular, it was the fact that at that time they still had the payment coupons. And the sad thing about that was that it was so embarrassing to go to the store. I was a working single mom, but I felt embarrassed when I had to go to the store because what they would do is they'd take these coupon packets and they'd rip them all out, and then they put them all on the check stand, and they count them while everybody's waiting behind you.
And they'd be stamping them. I remember that.
And they would stamp them, yeah.
Yeah, because you could make the process of being a single parent more humiliating.
Yeah, and being poor more stressful and humiliating. So you know what? No, I sure as hell didn't want to go to the store more than once a month. You know. Okay, we're at where I want to be here. So what we're going to do is we're going to add our 15-ounce can of tomato sauce.
You want to show that to the camera?
Yeah.
Put your hand behind it so we can see it. It helps the camera autofocus. Yeah. Or maybe I'm just not a good camera person. We're good. Okay. Sometimes I have to do things to make it do what I want.
So we're just going to pour that in there.
Yeah. I'll watch you stir it up.
Yep. And then what I'm going to do is, this is a tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce. And then there's about 1/4 cup of ketchup.
Why the ketchup since you put the tomatoes in?
Well, I mean, ketchup by itself is going to be pretty strongly flavored.
Yeah.
You're not going to want to just do ketchup. I mean, if you only have ketchup, I guess you could.
Oh, no, I mean like why ketchup at all? Because you're kind of already got ketchup.
Well, the ketchup has certain spices in it, I think, and it has that sweet sort of taste. Mm-hmm. You know, one of the things that I think people forget is
it's
that...
It's kind of like sugar then.
It is, yeah. You could put brown sugar in here, too, and probably get the same effect as putting the ketchup.
Yeah.
And but what people forget is you could probably take this, and if you didn't have ketchup, substitute barbecue sauce. If you don't have tomato sauce, substitute barbecue sauce. You're going to get a very similar flavor profile on it.
Well, that's one thing that people don't understand about Chopped, for example. Everything is made of something. So, like, if you get, like, ketchup, that's tomatoes. Mm-hmm. That's sugar. That's... I think there's Worcestershire sauce in there, too.
In where?
Ketchup.
Oh, yeah. There is, I'm sure.
You know, so it's kind of like, you know, ketchup is tomatoes. You know, they don't really... People are dumb. They don't think about the fact that things are other things. You know, and that you can take those flavors and impart them in a different way.
So we're just going to let this simmer for a couple minutes.
Is it pretty much done?
Yeah.
Nice. It looks really good.
Yeah. Very simple. Probably, I would say, with the prep, maybe 30 minutes tops.
It's very steamy today.
It is. So we're just letting it simmer and thicken a little bit.
You get used to deep frying so much.
And then one of the things that you can do, you can certainly, and as I do, taste it. And then if you feel like it needs more ketchup or, you know, something to your taste, you know, you can certainly add it in. One thing I was going to say, going back to the vegetables and the fresh vegetables versus canned, that's another thing. When you are doing that kind of shopping and you're living that kind of life, things like onions and carrots and celery are vegetables that last a long time. They'll last through the whole month. So those are things most people will have on hand in order to make other things out of, you know.
Yeah. So they're like a convenient vegetable that'll last.
But, you know, sometimes you just don't have time for that. I mean, I was always kind of a weirdo because I love to cook, I guess. And even though I didn't have a lot of money, and sometimes I was super tired from working, I still would come home and cook. But I totally can get the fact that after you've been on your feet for 12 hours, you don't really want to come home and have to put something together. So if it makes it easier for you to open a can, fuck it, do it. You know? Yeah. Don't let anybody tell you different.
Well, and, you know, you can substitute everything in here for canned things, too. Or frozen.
Yeah,
you just do, like, frozen vegetables instead. And, you know, despite what a lot of people say about fresh versus frozen, fresh is better, yes.
Well, not really, actually. Nutrient-wise, they found that...
That's what I was going to say.
Stuff is better.
That's what I was going to say, actually, that, you know, you can eat just as healthy, you know, and, you know, maybe not have to spend as much money if you don't have it.
Right.
Look at that. Yum.
Do you want me to get a bun? Okay, we got it. Look at that. That is a thing of beauty, if I may say so myself. I mean, who doesn't love sloppy joes? Seriously. Let's try this bad boy. Oh, God. Bite your tongue. Oh, man. Now, let me open this up just to show you what it looks like. Yeah. Very, very nice. Take a little bite here. And dribbling. There's a reason they call it sloppy joe, because it's all over the place. Lots of napkins. Mm. Oh my God. That brings me so far back. It's like school lunches in elementary school, making dinner for my kids, hell, making dinner for myself. It just brings back a lot of different memories. Good ones, for the most part. So I encourage you to try this. Get away from the canned stuff and the packet stuff. It's really easy to make, and most of the time you're going to have the ingredients on hand anyway. So that's our video for this week. I hope you will like us and subscribe to us. We are going to be doing videos pretty much every week on some weird topic. Either on a weird topic or a weird food. Although this isn't weird, this is just good. Anyway, have a great week, and we'll see you next time.